This means that we must actively practice, engage, and push back against the dominant culture. We must snatch and integrate rest in the quiet, loud, mundane, and full moments of our everyday life. I think this is a moment where I'm feeling really grateful to be alive and present. Just listening to the birds right now and being able to come back into my body after having a difficult day feels really good. And I think that's a gentle reminder that nature is always here to support us, even in those difficult moments, especially in those difficult moments, to come back into and lean into. And lately I've been reading a really good book recommended by a friend called Rest is Resistance. I believe it's by Tricia Hersey, and I'm only partway through, but I really resonate with the theme of coming back into a form of rest and recognizing that it is our natural birthright. Just like it's our birthright to have a purpose and live our dreams, it is also our birthright as humans, and like so many other beings on this planet, to rest. And rest may feel like a privilege in certain ways, but it is also something that belongs to us. At least speaking from the perspective of being in the Western world and moving at such a fast and machine level pace, it's just not sustainable for so many of us. Productivity is something I've always battled with before, of never feeling like enough, and it being a really heavy weight that I think a lot of people carry and a lot of people hold on to, that we are never enough and we are determined by what is in our bank accounts, what we can provide and produce and create, and we pride ourselves on sleep deprivation and stress and managing it through caffeine and alcohol and late nights out and stuff like that. And I think pretty early on in my life I was able to go through my midlife crisis pretty young and figure out that that didn't work for me. But of course, still being caught in the capitalist society that we live in, I still battle with that every day, of trying to not base how great a day is based on how much I accomplish and what I do. And these can be even things that are important to me. That can be something that is really heavy. She speaks on how rest as resistance is not just combating and being a natural response to, as a protest to capitalism, but also being a combat towards white supremacy, and how the system that we live in and was built on in this area is based upon slavery and building on the backs of others, and not taking all bodies into account, and just moving with this system forward where it just has become even more normalized of just, this is the way of being and this is what we do, and that especially affecting people of color and having so many detriments to people's health. And so I am really grateful that this friend put this book into my hands and has allowed me the ability to pass it on to others, because I think it's really important and I think it affects all of us. So it's something to bring in and sit with, and I like that it's a small and simple yet complex book, because it's a simple yet complex topic that can bring up so many different layers. And I just want to invite you to check in with that and maybe challenge yourself and read it or look into it and see what comes up for you. I feel like this is something that I was already navigating and moving through in my coaching practice with other women and other people that I've been helping, yet I feel like this brings a new perspective that maybe was present but not fully, that I really appreciate. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because it really, I love reading. I think reading is such a beautiful form of connection and learning and getting lost in community, and that's also something that she speaks on, is really leaning into your community and leaning into yourself and allowing yourself to have those moments to be present and be in nature, whatever that looks like. She talks about this moment about being on, I think, the subway in Chicago and being so burnt out from the 2 jobs that she just worked and not having enough money in her bank account, but giving herself the time of day to, instead of distracting herself on her phone, just looking out the window and taking in the birds and the trees and breathing that in, and that being a moment of peace for her. And let this be an invitation to you that even if you are in a city or you are in a position where you're working multiple jobs or are navigating the impossible right now and feel like no one understands, that there is always time for rest. And rest is not, it should not be a privilege. It is something that belongs to all of us, and we all deserve to rest and connect with our bodies and our hearts and nature, and let that be our natural rhythm. We are not machines. You are not a machine, I am not a machine, and we all have to pay our bills, but so many beautiful things happen when we rest. And I want to speak more on this book when I finish it, because she does speak on that point of like, oh, I have to pay my bills, and it's like, what happens from that? So circling this back around, let this be an invitation for you to take 5 minutes out of your day. Start small, start with something that's easy to fulfill, to give that time back to yourself. Whether it's in the morning or on a lunch break or at the end of your day, just take a moment to breathe, take a moment to reflect, take a moment to do nothing at all. Take a moment to just lay flat on the ground. That's my favorite thing to do, is just to lay flat on my back or just get really close to the earth and allow myself to just let my thoughts spill out onto the floor. Because sometimes we don't need the fancy self-care and the affirmations and the journaling and all the different things. Sometimes there's nothing to do other than to just rest and let our minds be, and from there so much healing can happen. I find this one interesting because she puts her own words to it, but what I really feel like presence is, and my version of that is, and now incorporating rest in with that. And those who struggle, most of us, with productivity and being so caught in a rat race or moving forward and feeling like we're either stuck in the past and reminiscing on things or shame cycles or whatever that is, and then we're then stuck in the future if we're not in the present, and finding ourselves pushing forward towards something and defining our worth by how much is in our bank account or how much we can produce and put out and accomplish, it all being about this form of accomplishment. And for me, I really anchor that back into being present, of trying to take that back for myself of, okay, I'm not going to live in the past and I'm not going to live in the present in these moments. I'm going to come back, take a deep breath, be in my own body, be in the present. And a very different spin-off she brings up, talking about how rest is a form of protest. And I'll let her do the rest of the speaking because she puts it together beautifully. Everything we know about rest has been tainted by the brainwashing from a white supremacist capitalist system. As a culture, we don't know how to rest, and our understanding of rest has been influenced by the toxicity of grind culture. We believe rest is a luxury, privilege, and an extra treat we can give ourselves after suffering from exhaustion and sleep deprivation. Rest isn't a luxury, but an absolute necessity if we're going to survive and thrive. Rest isn't an afterthought, but a basic part of being human. Rest is a divine right. Rest is a human right. We come into the world prepared to love, care, and rest. The systems kill us slowly via capitalism and white supremacy. Rest must interrupt. Like hope, rest is disruptive. It allows space for us to envision new possibilities. We must reimagine rest within a capitalist system. For many, rest feels elusive, and there is no model for rest in our culture. We must create the model, new ways of being. It is our work to reimagine rest for ourselves. We do this by tapping into the infinite imagination we have as divine beings. We slowly take our time to go underneath the many layers of trauma we have experienced individually and collectively in this violent system. We lay down, literally and figuratively. We are not resting because we are still connecting to our rest in a capitalist, trendy, consumer-driven way. The way we have been trained under a capitalist system, our work is not about a one-day-only event where leaving your home is necessary to rest in a fancy retreat center or hotel. This work is about a slow unraveling that will require our participation for our entire lives. It is a cultural shift too, rooted in an embodiment lens. This means that we must actively practice, engage, and push back against the dominant culture. We must snatch and integrate rest in the quiet, loud, mundane, and full moments of our everyday life. I just want to highlight that piece because I think it's so necessary to put this out there that sometimes we don't get to take the naps that we want to, or go on the retreats, or travel across the world and go spend time deconstructing everything about our lives and being in these fancy retreat centers. I think those things are amazing, but sometimes those things aren't available to all of us. And while so many things are possible, what we do have control of is those moments in our everyday life where we get to check back in with ourselves and find that presence and rest and that everyday busy moment of just whether it's a deep breath or checking in with yourself or giving yourself just on your 10-minute break a little bit more attention than just scrolling on your phone and getting lost. I just wanted to highlight that because I find it really important. We must remain committed to building community and go deep into the deepest cracks to gather and care for anyone left behind. Treating each other and ourselves with care isn't a luxury, but an absolute necessity if we're going to thrive. Resting isn't an afterthought, but a basic part of being human. So I hope this reaches you well. I feel really grateful that this book was passed on to me, and I am about almost halfway through. I lent it out to someone close to me and they read it in a day, and they ate it up and really took in all that information and wisdom and knowledge and are embodying that in their own life daily. And I think it really starts with those simple steps. I really think it starts on a smaller scale leading to the larger one, and it can feel so massive to try and tackle problems, whether it's something in your own life or community or worldwide, but it really does start on that smaller scale. And this is a way to reclaim your own. And I won't put the words as beautifully as she does, but I hope this gives you an invitation to be a little kinder to yourself, to check in with your body, and the next time you feel guilt or shame or whatever comes up about taking a break or resting or how much you completed in a day, just take a deep breath and let it go. Ultimately, this is not how we're meant to function. We are not meant to function at a machine level pace and putting certain bodies at the forefront of this abuse and expectation and society that we just keep moving along with. We all have a purpose. We all have a divine right to be here and to make something of that. So allow yourself to rest. Allow yourself to be in tune with your body and try not to get caught in that every day of just keep going, because everyone always says that life goes by so fast, and it can, but there's so many moments to really anchor in and be present and really feel the slowness and the stillness if you are grounded within yourself. And that is not necessarily an easy thing to do, but it is possible. And that doesn't mean that it suddenly doesn't stop feeling chaotic and busy, but it's a tool in your toolbox to be able to reclaim your life a little bit better. So I hope this sits well with you all.